So just want to welcome everybody to our first UE Systems webinar of 2013. We're going to be talking about optimizing the use of technology for proactive maintenance and condition monitoring. We've got Kim Hunt from Domtar joining us. The beginning of the new year is always a great time to consider how we're all going to improve upon our processes, which for some may mean starting from scratch with new technology and predictive tools. For others that maybe already have made the investment in those predictive technologies, it might be a good time to reevaluate your process, or for some it might be time to get that layer of dust off of them and start getting around to using them. So regardless of where you are in your reliability journey, we're sure that today's webinar is going to be a great motivator. Kim has done some amazing work at Domtar, and we're really happy that she's here to share her good stories with us and knowledge. So real quick before we get started, just a little bit about UE Systems. We're actually going to be celebrating our 40th anniversary this year for providing ultrasound technology to those of you in the reliability world, manufacturing, so on and so forth. We have offices all throughout the globe, and we really are ready and able to assist any of you in your reliability journey. So please always keep that in mind, and this is obviously one of the ways that we like to provide support by offering these webinars every month. Up on your screen now, as we show every time, is our interactive information kit. So just a quick at-a-glance of everything that we have to offer, all the tools and resources that we have available to you. So anybody that would like to have us send this to you, just shoot me an email or pop a note to us over in the questions section, and I'll be sure that we get that sent off to you. And on that note, just a little housekeeping. Two things. One, there is the questions box, and we definitely encourage questions to come in throughout the webinar, and we'll try and, as we see fit, pause Kim in the middle of her presentation to get those questions answered, and of course we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Also, we do record these. We are recording this now, so for those of you who maybe have to pop off a little early or who pop in late, you will be able to view this on our website in a day or two. We always email everybody once we've got it up there. So just keep that in mind. We are recording it, so you can go back to this at a later date. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome Kim. I'm going to pass the baton over to her real quick, so just give us a second here. Okay, Kim, and you're off.
Do you see me up there yet?
There you are, yep.
Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm very excited to do this presentation as a webinar presenter. I myself have been using webinars for the last 8 years as a real key part of our reliability program. There's great information to be had, and bringing people together in the room to hear it it leads into some really good discussion with the people that you need to hear the same message and drive your program. So it's kind of neat to be on the delivering side of this, and it's my first time, so bear with me while I make it through. Today we're going to, okay, so today I'm going to give you 5 takeaways, 5 things that you can take back to your organization and start making some changes. We're going to look at a shift in thinking. I'm going to tell you about our key elements. We're going to look at our motor monitoring and lubrication program, and I think you're going to be pretty amazed at some of the results that we've gotten from that. I'm going to tell you about the big red button, and then we're going to look at our results and how you sustain them. So the first thing is, how do we make that shift? So I have Superman there. We don't want Superman anymore. Superman does troubleshooting and palliative care. You know, the pump is vibrating off the base. Everybody can hear it. You got a bunch of people standing around, and what do they say? Oh my God, call the vibration guy. Get him over here. You don't need the vibration guy at that point to tell you that that pump has a problem. And a lot of times that's how we're using our technologies. And then we know the pump has a problem, and we keep the vibration going back, and I call it palliative care, where we hold its hand, and we walk it through to the point of it failing. And really, in my mind, that's not proactive. So what we are making a shift to is equipment health monitoring. And so what that means is that, we're trying to, we're looking at a proactive strategy, and it's a totally different mindset. So we want to just, we end up doing some of the same things, but with a different thought in mind. And we're looking at eliminating the defects versus managing the failures. We identify the sweet operating spot, and we monitor to keep it there. So where does this pump like to run? What's happy for this pump? What does the temperature look like? What are the dB readings? What is the, the vibration analysis on it? Where is this happy? And then we're monitoring it to keep it in a happy, healthy state. What is the cleanliness code on the lubrication system? We're keeping it in a healthy state rather than going out and looking for failures. So in reality, you're doing the same thing, but with a different mindset. You're trying to keep it in the sweet spot. You establish the upper and lower tolerances to alarm the out-of-spec conditions, and then the early detection and corrective processes is what you're looking for. How do I keep it from becoming a failure in the first place? Can I find misalignment and lubrication issues and correct them before they start before they start developing the faults? And I love this saying from John Day. Anybody that listens to Ricky Smith knows this one. If you're not in control of your equipment, then it's controlling you. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive, to be thinking that, yeah, it's the equipment waking you up on Saturday night at 3 in the morning if you're a paper mill, maintenance superintendent. It's the equipment waking you up because you're not controlling it. And so it controls your budget. Your equipment tells you how much money you're going to spend. You have no control over it when it's, when it's in a reactive state. Okay. So we want to look at eliminating the root causes of failure. And what are some of those? Well, we look at, a lack of effective standard procedures. And I've been doing a lot of, I've been following Deming's LinkedIn site lately, and he talks a lot about like 97% of our failures are linked back to procedures not being followed. That's huge. Lack of skill, contamination, misalignment, lack of lubrication, so the wrong type, quantity, frequency, and imbalance. So we want to eliminate those root causes of failure by relentlessly applying the best practice. And when we look at our PDF curve, we want to be able to find the beginning. We ultimately want to be able to keep things in precise condition. And once we start getting into detecting the failure itself, now we've got the time to be able to plan the repair, which again saves huge amounts of money. And the biggest savings is in, not having catastrophic failure, so not losing production, having the time to change things out before they cost you the downtime. That's the big cost saving. But it's only secondary to actually finding the problems and fixing them before they even start to drive a failure. So this is where our dollar, our value is in this precision maintenance. So doing things well and then monitoring them to keep them in that state of precise condition. So we're going to look at the elements of our program. Acceptance testing. So what we do is one of our number one focus for our vibration analysis crew now is to go out and do acceptance testing on equipment after it's been worked on or new pieces of equipment have been installed. They go out and they take vibration analysis readings, they take ultrasound readings, they take temperature readings, and they take, if it's a grease component, they go out with a grease gun and make sure that that the lubricant is at its optimal grease point using the ultrasound, so that we know that we're starting off on the right foot. So what are we finding out there? Well, yeah, we're finding out that the lubrication is right. We know we're starting off right there, but we're also finding out whether we did the work right. Were the bearings stored properly, and so we don't have a bearing fault from improper storage? Did we install them right? Did we do a good rebuild? Is everything aligned properly? Is everything balanced? So are we, and we're learning from that it's some installation and storage and procedural problems that cause our issues. If we know that, then we can start correcting some of those. And then what you'll find when you look at those issues that are root cause is that if you can solve it for one piece of equipment, then you're going to solve it for all kinds of pieces of equipment because it's typically a systemic problem you have. So you affect change across your whole plant. Whereas the old way of doing root cause analysis, at our plant anyways, was you would have a failure and everybody would sit in the room and they would solve the problem for that particular failure. And to me, that's a very reactive way to use root cause analysis, and you affect change on that one thing that may or may not ever happen again. So our vibration analysis program, we switched from troubleshooting and palliative care to condition monitoring. So the guys were really analyzing all of the readings that they were taking and analyzing them. So what they were doing, what we do now is we have set up a program in our vibration analysis software where the faults that we're looking for are triggered, and we're monitoring the condition, and if it's out of spec, then we go back and look at it. Ultrasound, we're using condition-based lubrication and inspection. We do lube oil analysis. Have an amazing group of lube techs at our plant here. Anybody that's heard me speak in the past knows how much I'm passionate about lubrication and about the lube techs we have here. They save more money in your plant than you can ever put your finger on it and show, but I know they're saving us big time. And then we have an asset health monitoring program. They're routes based on failure modes, and they're completed by operators and technicians. And these are all supported by effective standard procedures. Again, our vibration analysis is baselining is our first priority. We reorganized our process for repeatability and consistency. So what that means is that we've got targets placed on our equipment so that we can go, and our software and our routes are set up so that anybody can go and take those readings, and they're going to get exactly the same thing no matter who goes. They're going to gather exactly the same information, and that's critical for a good program. And like I say, we redesigned our software with alarms and forcing frequencies. The other big thing that we did with our vibration analysis program is that we got to the point, we've been working with ultrasound for about, I'm going to say 3 years now, and it's taken us a while to convince people and make them confident that it is a strong complementary tool to the vibration analysis. It's easy to sell ultrasound for air leaks. But when you're looking at bearings, people that are sold on vibration analysis can take a long time to turn around. And so now my vibration techs will use ultrasound as the first line. What we've actually ended up with is we do exactly the same routes with vibration as with ultrasound. 1 month they do ultrasound. The next month they do vibration. The next month they do ultrasound. The next month they do nothing, and that's on all of our lower priority. But I shouldn't even say lower priority. We're doing that on all of our rotating equipment. There are some critical pieces that we only do with vibration for reasons that we won't go into now. But we're finding that this system is working amazingly well, and it's helping to drive the lubrication program as well. What are some of the benefits? We get early defect identification, which allows for correction. We got time to plan, organize, and relieve some stress not having to deal with that breakdown today. We've got lots of time to fix things. Improved accuracy of data collection. Again, we know if somebody else has taken the data and I go in and look at it, I know I can count on it because I know it's been taken in a very controlled manner now. We've got less time spent on non-value added tasks. We've got faster learning curve for our new technicians. Our program is not dependent on specific individuals, and we have more time available to eliminate failures.
Kim, can I...
So again, when you get rid of your...
Sorry, I just wanted to... I had a question that seemed relevant to ask now. In regards to the data collection you're doing, one of our participants was wondering how frequently you're taking the readings on your various routes.
Once a month. We're, like I said, we are there 3 months out of 4 on most of our equipment. There is some equipment that will do less, and then there's some equipment that we may do more frequently, but for the most part it's once a month. But 1 month we do the routes with ultrasound. The next month we do it with vibration. The next month we do ultrasound. The next month we do nothing. So it's a 4-month rotation. 3 months out of the 4, we're touching that equipment, and that's our predictive maintenance group. So you still have lube techs checking, doing their inspections, operators doing their inspections on the equipment, but these are the predictive maintenance guys. Does that make sense?
Great, thanks.
So our asset health monitoring system, we have based our failure modes are used to establish the indicators. So how is this thing going to fail? What's it going to look like? And then we develop an indicator to measure that. So an example would be the condition of the oil, and does it have water in it? Is it is it contaminated and blocked, or is it good? And we have routes based with these different states, and they go around and select the states, and then later we can measure how many assets do we have with this failed state. In that way we know where our biggest issues are. Operators are the first line of defense. They're the eyes and ears of maintenance. Inspection routes were developed for operations and maintenance, so we have pipe fitting inspections, millwright inspections, the ones where our vibration analysis guys go out, lube tech inspections, and when the lube techs go out, they're actually taking actions, refilling things as they need to, greasing, whatnot. Our indicator alarms trigger actions, so if we see an abnormal state, it will trigger a work order, or maybe we just monitor it, or it's fixed during inspection. Those are our options for that. The system that we use is Ivara right now, Ivara EXP. We've developed hierarchy and criticality, and so again, your work should be based on the criticality of the asset and the severity of the defect to set priorities. And we have standard jobs that are triggered by alarms. This is really amazing. We can go in and we have a SOP developed for repacking a pump, a 3196 Gould's pump. And that SOP, with all the bells and whistles that you want on it, is kicked out when a state, when an abnormal state is selected on an indicator. It can kick out the work order for that with all the procedure on it. It can also put it to the schedule, and once marked complete, it can be closed automatically. So to me, that's where, that's an amazing place to get to with our maintenance program, where a lot of it is like, I say it's like the Sims computer, a virtual maintenance program where you can, do all kinds of fun things to get it automated, and then you just focus on actually getting it done well out in the field. And then we trend our readings. Our condition-based lubrication, our bearings are greased while running using ultrasound to determine the lube requirements. eliminates bearing failures caused by over-under greasing, identifies bearing defects, and saves time and lubricant, and huge energy savings by having things greased perfectly. I just watched a webinar on using energy to drive your reliability, and it's amazing. I've got a slide that shows the energy savings with a properly lubricated motor, and you're going to be astounded, I think, by the money that you save. And so whether something's over-lubricated or under-lubricated, it's costing you more to run that with the friction that's created. I'm having very good success with the lube techs taking on the ultrasound. There was a lot of resistance at first, but once I've gone out with the guys, we'll get the little splitter and we go out together. And I'm going to tell you, there's nothing that gets me more excited than hearing the noise in that bearing drop down and turn into a smooth little purr when the right amount of grease was added. And it's really fun for me, and it's exciting to hear that. And so when you can go out there and generate that kind of excitement with other people, they soon buy in. It's just it's a fantastic tool. We're going to have a look at our ultrasonic motor lubrication program. In the past, our lube routes were triggered by calendar. They weren't always completed, or maybe they weren't done on schedule. Our bearings on the route were greased whether they needed it or not. Not all motors were greased, so based on size, I think anything under 20 horse, they didn't grease at all. And sometimes they greased motors in a non-running condition. And the amount of grease was based on a chart from the vendor. And actually, they took the chart from the vendor and then kind of modified it with a best guess, which is really how we do a lot of people. That's how the lubrication program is set up. It's tribal knowledge, and then it's best guess. Lubrication it's an art. It's a bit of science, but it's a lot of art, and there's a lot of guesswork. And that's what I love about using the ultrasound, is that it takes that guesswork out of it. In the past, some of our grease fittings were inaccessible. Our motor failures were due to improper lubrication, too much, too little, wrong type, wrong frequency, and we lacked consistency. Using structure-borne based ultrasound, we will trend the condition of the motor bearings based on decibel readings. So we establish a baseline for each bearing. The increase of 8 to 10 decibels indicates need for lube replenishment, and the bearing is lubricated using the ultrasound instrument. Now I'm going to tell you, when we listen to these webinars and when we read this information, it does look, it's like, man, okay, yeah, that sounds pretty easy, right? And it does take a fair bit of work to get this all in place, but I'm going to tell you it's well worth it. And you can't hurt anything by starting off and tweaking it as you go. So have faith, and it is, I'm going to show you how we made this happen. We developed routes in our CMMS system for the inspections. We installed targets on both ends of the motor, and we extended the grease fittings so that you could get to them easily. You don't want to have to be up there with your gun, if you're going to try and describe this, but you put your gun vertically on top of a motor zert fitting, and it's up above your head. How do you see the decibel reading? And you're going to see how we have our grease gun attached to the ultrasound gun. So I'll give you a visual of what we've done. We put the targets on, so now we use the magnet from the ultrasound gun to get our reading. That does a few things. We're also using that magnet and gun to do our monthly inspections that the lube tech, or that the vibration guys are using. So every time we go, we know that every reading that's taken is taken exactly the same way. So again, I can count on them. I can't say, oh, well, no, was this one taken on the zert fitting? That's why it looks different than this one that was taken who knows where. Those targets are, in my mind, are imperative, whether you use a target or an X. And it's a no-brainer when you go to put your magnet on. Where do I stick it? You don't even need to think. It's right there. We developed an SOP, which I'll show you. We've developed an SOP for how to baseline the motor. We established the baselines and alarm sets for the individual bearings, and I'm going to tell you, when I say we did this, we've got lots of them done. It is a continuous journey, and we've got 2,500 motors in our plant. We started this in October 2010. We are still working on getting grease fittings extensions in place and getting some targets on. It's, you know, in our plant anyways, these things don't happen overnight, so I'm sure I'm not alone. We perform the time-based inspections. Now, again, what we intended to do was do the inspections and then trigger an alarm to go and grease that motor. What we've ended up doing is having electricians go out with a grease gun at 6-month intervals to grease them. And then when we're doing these monthly inspections, if a lubrication fault comes up, then we go out and take the grease gun and do those specifically. So that's what we've ended up doing. Not too sure whether it's the ideal, but that's what we're doing right now. This is how we've hooked up this was one of our electricians decided this was the best way to do it rather than have the tool in one hand and a grease gun in the other. He's put them together, and this works great for us. And you can see the target on the motor there. And this is a bit of what our SOP looks like. So the steps and the warnings and where do you take the readings. You want to make this process so that anybody can go and do it, and it's foolproof. And those targets, again, we're taking an ultrasound reading, exactly the same place as we're taking a vibration reading. So now those two complement each other. So when we have our baseline, if we go 8 to 10 decibels above the baseline, it's going to trigger the lubrication. If it's beyond 10 decibels or doesn't quiet after lubricating, a bearing fault may exist, and we call vibration analysis to look at. We do the grease extensions, and we have a process to audit the effectiveness of our program. And then it's continuous improvement. What are some of the benefits? Proper lubrication saves up to 4% on energy costs. Remember we talked about our lubrication program and getting people on board and how hard it is to measure that. It's 4%. If people actually believed that, I think they'd be a whole lot more on board with supporting what you're doing. Increased mean time between failure. We're going to look at that. Reduced downtime. Reduced maintenance costs. Consistency in the process. And trending of bearing condition as an early warning to vibration analysis. That's from our ultrasound monitoring. What do our results look like? That's my daughter there, not me. I wish I was that adventurous. This is the slide that shows we went and the electrician took a reading of the current draw before he greased, and then he took the reading right after he greased, and we did the calculation. That was a $250 a year energy savings on one motor if it is optimally lubricated. So when I tell you we have 2,500 motors in our plant, and I can get, even half of that as a savings, that's good money. This was our improvement that we saw from May 2010 till September 11 using our, when we implemented our lubrication program, our motor lubrication program. And I can tell you that I took another mean time between failure of this year, and it's still continuing to climb. We use mean time between failure on a lot of things. We use it on mill-wide. We'll use it in an area. So how many breakdown work orders did you create in the last 7 days? And if you divide that number into the the hours of 7 days, I use it in a month. How many failures do I, or how many work orders do I create for the asset type motor, and divide that into 640 hours, which is 4 weeks. I'll use it on pumps. I use it on condition of oil. I use it on condition of oil level because a lot of times we have failures due to that. I use it on my rolls because we're a pulp and paper company, and we have a lot of failures on the couple hundred rolls that we have on our paper machines. And when in my mind, if we have a reliability program and we are putting actions in place to improve reliability, then this mean time between failure line should start to trend up. And I can tell you that the equipment that what you're doing is not having an effect on, the line does not climb. It is like up, down, up, down, up, down, or kind of flat lines, and you know, you're not in, you don't have a solid improvement program. So there's a bit of controversy about whether mean time between failure is a good KPI to use. I like it, and I can tell you that when what you're doing is working, it tells you. This is huge to me. And when I did this, I'm going to be honest with you, when we did this 2 years ago, we had a slide in here that showed pretty much the same thing, a $450,000 savings from a motor lubrication, you know, from an improved, let's call it an improved reliability program for our motors. Part of that is definitely the ultrasonic lubrication, I believe. Part of it is, you know, they believe that they started to convince operations not to change motors out, you know, just based on what they feel, but by statistics, you know, doing analysis, motor analysis, and you know, not on guesswork. And then they also probably improve standards of the motors a little bit too. So this is a reliability improvement slide. But when I did this slide, showed the savings 2 years ago, we got a little bit of resistance because they didn't want to believe that the savings were that huge. And it's kind of like, it kind of confused me. It's like, well, why wouldn't you want to, you know, why wouldn't you want to show these kinds of savings? And then I really doubted that savings myself. And just this, you know, a few weeks ago, we pulled up the dollars, the difference in dollars from 1 year to the next in our motor rebuilds and purchases, and it came out to around $400,000, which was exactly the same as what we'd had. And this doesn't include our labor for those motor changeouts, and it doesn't include any downtime that may have been incurred. And so I'm pretty confident that this is correct, and I'm willing to put myself out there and promote this and show you that these are the kinds of improvements that you can see when you actually get support in implementing a proactive program like this. So we get our asset health monitoring program gives us a complete picture of asset health, captures inspection data, triggers maintenance work before performance degradation occurs, consolidates our predictive maintenance data, and captures the equipment expertise of the aging workforce. In the past, when we first started our reliability-driven maintenance program, that was about 8 years ago, we lowered our frequency to 0.47. We had a 21% reduction in maintenance costs, and we have, I would say we're up to about a 30% reduction now in our maintenance costs from 8 years ago till now. And as you know, we have had inflation in that time, and we have been able to maintain that reduction in maintenance costs. So I think that speaks somewhat to the program and to somebody that's probably put the thumb down on a budget as well. But we've got we saw a 30% increase in production efficiencies. Equipment breakdowns declined. We have a smaller spare parts inventory and historical data to make decisions. So now I'm going to give you the real secret to the success. I've told you some of the, some of the practical things and the things that you can read about on the website and, in the magazines, but I'm going to tell you how I really was successful doing this program. And I think, some of you probably have the secret to success at your plant already. I hope you do. This is the secret to my success, and it's great people to work with. And you're going to see these are not, do these look like the guys that are, you know, at the top of the food chain there? These are the guys going out and actually doing the work. These are the guys that are actually buying in to the proactive work. Here we're using ultrasound on a heat exchanger. Fabulous tool for that. We pressurize it with air, and then we use the ultrasound to find the tubes that are leaking. Excellent. Ultrasound is fabulous for finding valves that are blocked, that are partially opened. Seconds, we've found blocked valves that up in our pulp production area, they couldn't figure out which one of the 4 up there was the problem, and within, I'm telling you, 5 minutes, we had the answer for them. Amazing, simple tool. There's our predictive maintenance team, and some of my right-hand girl there, and our oil analysis lab. But it's these people that keep me going. It's the people that make this stuff happen. Like I said, you can have a great program on your computer, and if you don't have the people buying into it, when your heads, when you're not there looking over their shoulder, then it's not worth the paper is printed on. We need people who are valued and engaged, empowered. Give them the tools they need to do the job, and that's through training. Doing things like these webinars, it costs you nothing. I have never watched a webinar that I have not gotten something out of, and I will watch the same information over and over to get it so that it does become part of my my fiber of what I believe, and I can speak about it intelligently, hopefully. And people that are innovative. So you want them to question, you want them to be able to watch these, you'll get trained in this information, go out and try it, and then you want them to challenge you as well so that it can be the best program, that you can have. I had a guy, electrician, the other day. I was giving him the training on the ultrasound before he went to do the motor lube, and I said, well, one of the guys that's been here, the big electrical guy, he wants you, no matter what, to give it a few shots of grease when you go to the motor. Just in case, right? Just give it a few shots. And he said, but why? That doesn't make sense to me. He says, if we have a baseline and we know that baseline's good, and we take the reading and it's at that baseline and it sounds good, why would we give it more grease? And you know what? He's absolutely right, and that's what you're looking for. Team players that are going to help you have the best program you have. You want people who are passionate, who love what they do, and I think that you get that passion, again, by training people, by valuing them, and by giving them the tools that they need. How do we sustain it? You need to get out there, and you need to give lots of stories about the successes you have. And you know what I'm going to tell you? I have a very hard time with that part. You get caught up with the day-to-day work, and it's hard to put stories out and have the right slant and not have people say, come back with something that's a little bit negative about it. But that is where you get the buy-in. You have to keep showing where's the money saved. You need to show what are the things you found, because it's very easy for people to find fault with that vibration guy didn't find this the fault, and this equipment's down now. So you need to be able to show the good things that you're doing in your program, so that you got some money in the bank when you do have some of those things that slip through your fingers, because they do, right? KPIs, post and discuss the KPIs, and you need to have buy-in to them. A lot of times we have KPIs that we're asked to report on, and we don't use them to drive the behavior. We just want the KPI to look like a good number. Well, if it's not actually driving in the direction that you want it to go, if it's not moving up or down, whichever way is relevant to your success, then it has no value, because you use a KPI to change behavior or to change conditions, and you're driving the behaviors that are going to change those conditions. Communication, you need to, you can't understate communication. As many people as you can talk to about what you're doing, I found even if you're going to do a presentation about something, to talk and you want buy-in, talk one-on-one with people first before you go into a meeting so that you have a feel of somebody on your side. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I really find that a lot of people like to feel like it's their decision and their idea, and I try to find ways that makes it feel like other people's ideas and that they're calling the shots, asking permission to do things rather than saying this is how we're doing it. It's pushing these reliability programs is, and I think I just used the word there, pushing. You can't push them. You need to be an amazing marketing person and psychologist. And believe me, I'm still trying to learn that one. And then teamwork. I can't speak enough about teamwork. Give people, other people praise and, acknowledge what they bring to the team. And I think if people feel valued, they'll do anything for you. And continuous improvement, you're never there. So there's always improvements to be made. The one thing I will say too with this, when you get into using technology, is that you need to know where it is cost effective to be using it. So one thing I'll say, like if you were running a very reactive program and you're using vibration analysis, you're probably paying way too much money for your reactive program. There's the webinar I'd watched on the energy driving your reliability said that if you can figure out what the optimal energy draw is on a component, and you monitor that, as your parts fail, as your lubricant degrades, your energy is going to climb, and you can trend those costs and use that trend to determine actions that you need to take to either bring it back to optimal, or when it gets so bad, you can say, well, look at the energy cost this is driving compared to changing it out, and so it can actually help you determine when is the time to change things out. So you need to figure out the dollars and cents of this program. A lot of people think, oh, do vibration analysis on everything, but there's a cost to it, and you need to be very aware of what are you paying to have that, and are you getting the value out of it. So I'm going to challenge you. These are my challenges for you. Implement acceptance testing. To me, it's huge. Shift your thinking from failure management to defect elimination. Implement ultrasound condition-based lubrication. Value, empower, and communicate with your employees. If they are successful, you will be successful. And remember to breathe. I always feel I'm a yoga addict, and that's one thing that I have learned is that when things get a little stressful, breathe in, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And do that a few times and bring yourself back to a good place, because when we're all stressed out, it's very difficult to make anything good happen. Decide to make a plan and then do it. You do have the power. And I will tell you too, the ultrasound has been one of the easiest tools that I have, and I guess it probably sounds a little bit like a commercial because I'm doing this webinar right now on UE's website, but I'm going to tell you I would say these things anywhere, and I have found it to be a very simple tool to implement. I found it very easy, very economical to introduce it to our plant, and anybody that would like some further discussion on how to go about doing that, I would be happy to talk to you. So send me an email, and I'd be happy to help you out. I hope this has given you a few ideas of what you might be able to do in your plant, and I hope that that I haven't gone on for too long here. And like I say, my email address is here. Feel free to email, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, that was great, Kim, and I said at the beginning that for kicking off the new year that this was going to be a good motivational presentation, and you certainly nailed it on the head. It is amazing. We talk all the time about the technology and the tools, and obviously, you know, ultrasound, and those are all fine and well. But as you said, if you don't have the people and you're not supporting your people to really follow the processes and be a part of it, you know, it doesn't matter how much technology you've got in your facility. It's not going to work. So that was really great message. And I do have quite a few questions that have come in, so we'll get a few of these over to you to answer now, and then any that we don't get to, we can certainly send to you offline so that we can still get these folks their answers. So one question that's kind of a two-part. First off, how is your facility a 24/7, 365, or how does your facility run? And then, depending on that answer, if you've got systems that aren't accessible during when they're in operation, you know, how are you managing the testing on that equipment?
Okay, so yes, we are 24/7, 365. I believe we have 2 days downtime, or one for sure, throughout the year. There are remote sensors that we can use for ultrasound and vibration. We haven't used a lot of them for ultrasound, but we have used a few. We're just kind of getting on to that. But definitely remote sensors is what we use, depending, on, again, on criticality, right? A bit of a higher cost to remote sensing.
Great. Another question was in regards to your, if you're using a CMMS and if you're integrating your PDM readings into the CMMS, or maintaining just two kind of separate databases.
Right. We have, like I said, we're using Ivara EXP. We also have the Ivara CMMS right now. We bring everything into that. We bring our vibration readings into that program. We have indicators in Ivara that the vibration guy does his analyzing and then sort of has a 1, 2, 3 level fault that he brings into Ivara. The decibel readings, we have, again, our handheld that we go out and take the decibel readings and then we enter them into Ivara. We haven't been using the route function on our ultrasound tool. We're using our handheld that we use for everything else. And then when I open up that asset and I can see all of the I see all the different alarms in there, and then they, you know, they complement each other, right? It's verifies the fault.
All right, great. And back to the softer side, the people. Someone's wondering about how you go about rewarding your personnel for, you know, encouraging them to share their ideas. How are you motivating them? Just some kind of tips that maybe you could share with the group on that.
Okay, so the best results I've ever had, because I'm the supervisor for the vibration guys, but these oilers, the lube techs, that's where I would say I've had, like, you know, some of the equal success with them as I have with the guys I'm responsible for. And how do you motivate people that you're not the supervisor for? Well, I've been very fortunate that they have allowed me to have a meeting. I have a weekly meeting with these guys, and there's a philosophy, a 10-80-10 rule, and it says that 10% of your people are going to be amazing, 10% are going to really suck, and there's going to be 80% in the middle. And what you want to do is bring the 80% in the middle up to the 10% on the top. And when you bring people together weekly, and I have to tell you honestly that there are some cookies involved in that meeting, when you bring them together, you will see that eventually the 80% will come up to meet the 10% on the top. And I don't know if it's the personality of these guys, but they're amazing. And we talk about, we'll shoot the crap a little bit for a few minutes, and then we talk about lubrication, and we've been doing this for years. And they can bring up their issues, and when they have issues, I will resolve them for them. But the biggest thing is developing this team and having the forum for them to bring their concerns and address them. And then really it's valuing them however you can. Probably, again, being a female in this role, in this particular instance, may be a little bit of an advantage because I can really show my, I really do so much care for these people that are out there doing an amazing job. And so, I really let that feeling show and really let them know how much I value them and what a difference they make in this plant. I am not afraid to let those feelings, and they know that they're heartfelt when I say them. And I do, you can do articles about what those people are doing in your plant. Build them up that way. Courses, I have brought people into to do lubrication courses where they will get certified. Again, these are people that they've probably failed, grade 8, 9, and 10, and they're passing lubrication courses now that are difficult, that I'll bet some of our engineers couldn't pass. They're oil analysis certified, some of these guys. And that they've been able to do because there wasn't fear-based around it. It's like, it doesn't matter whether you pass or not. Just let's do it. Let's try it. But once they got that certification, man, did they feel good about it. So those are some of the strategies that I have used. And as far as rewarding them with anything other than cookies, like very little. At Christmas, I'll give them like a $5 coffee card or something. I do give them a Christmas card, small things like that. But it's mostly caring enough to educate them and to remove the roadblocks for them to do their job. Like I say, if they do a great job out there, then I look good, right? So.
That's great, and with your email address still showing, you might find your inbox being filled with resumes from some of the folks listening in. It sounds like you really know how to run the ship there. Another kind of strategy type question, for those that are hopefully getting ready to kind of start their reliability journey and try to really sell these kinds of programs up the chain, what are some tips, some resources, what do you suggest for these folks that need to make that hard sale up the ladder?
Well, again, the one tool obviously for the ultrasound, and I do think you get big payback from the ultrasound, is definitely the air leaks. It's getting, somebody out. Again, and I don't want to sound like I'm a salesperson for you because I am not. I am an end user, and I've just gotten so much value from it. But one of the sales guys from UE has been a huge help to me in helping to do the, some of the education, in getting us on board here. And we go out and do the air survey, and that shows dollars and cents right then and there. And anybody that knows ultrasound knows that the air leaks can sell that tool easily. But when you go out and listen, and I probably sound like a wacko, but when you go out and listen to those bearings with the ultrasound, and then you apply the grease and it quiets down, it is like a little magic trick. And people can't help but be impressed by it. And that's what you need to do, is take people out and just get one. Let me just, again, I bought my tool on a rental, and the rental was like, pay this much a month for rent, and when you've paid so much, it belongs to you. That's a pretty sweet deal. That's easy to sell. You're not asking for a lot of money up front. And then all you need is like one person on board with you. Don't try and do the whole plant. Get one small area on board first. And like I say, you start to show these, people have problems with motor lubrication. I can show you blogs in LinkedIn where they went on and on and on and on and on about motor lubrication, and it wasn't until the end that anything about ultrasound was said about it. It is an issue. And when you can see if you can even use these results and try and promote it, you know, it's if they're out there greasing anyways, it's a small investment to do it with ultrasound.
All right, well, that's great. So I'm going to flip it back over. There's still a few questions, but Kim, we'll get those over to you, and we can make sure we get everybody their questions answered. But just in the for time here, I'm going to pop it back over to me, and just going to say thanks again so much to Kim for coming on and participating. I think this was really great presentation and a lot of great tips, and obviously with the amount of questions and comments that came through, it obviously is a good topic and one that folks were pretty excited about. So definitely thanks again for coming along. Just to wrap up, I just want to make sure everybody knows I did mention at the beginning, but for those who came in a little late, we did or are recording this webinar, and we will put it up on our website, uesystems.com, as we do with all of our webinars. So if you missed any of it, or you've got a colleague or a supervisor that you want to see this great information, it will be up there available for you all, and we will email everybody once it is online, so you know when you can go track it down. And obviously definitely take a look at past webinars that we've had. We have covered, you know, lubrication and all these topics in different ways before, so we hope that you find, you know, just a plethora of information on our website to continue to help all of you, no matter where you are in your journey. On that note, especially with the questions and the comments, definitely try and, you know, stay connected with us. We do have a users group on LinkedIn, which is a great place to keep these conversations going, to help each other out, to get help yourself. You know, we're on there answering questions. People like Kim obviously are active there, so it's just hopefully a great way to get help pretty quickly from your peers. We're also on Twitter, and we've got our blog. Just trying to find lots of different ways to be sure we're helping all of you as best we can. Some upcoming dates: we've got our next 3 webinars scheduled already. We're going to be back here in February with Tim Goshert from Allied Reliability Group talking about selecting and building relationships with service providers. In March, we're going to shift gears back, but with a little bit more focus on lubrication, with Terry Harris talking specifically about effective lubrication storage. And then in April, Kim mentioned Ricky Smith in her presentation. We've got him coming to talk to us a little bit more about fracas. And then our big annual conference, Ultrasound World 9, will be in Clearwater Beach, Florida, May 6th through 10. And I don't know about you all, but looking out my window at the dreary winter weather, that conference can't come soon enough. So we hope you all are able to take a look at what we've got coming up at Ultrasound World and hopefully make plans to attend. And
that's a great group of guys you've got presenting in the next few months. That's impressive. Those will be very good.
Great, thanks for that plug there, Kim. I appreciate it. And I'll just leave this screen up here for a little while as folks pop off, but this is how you can reach us, and definitely never hesitate to email or call. We're always available to help everybody out. So Kim, thank you again so much, and to everybody, I hope 2013 is off to a great start, and that we all have just a great year. So if we don't talk to you before then, we'll hopefully see you all in February for our next webinar.
Thanks, Maureen.
Thanks.